It's nice to have vision. It's nice to have opportunities, but it can be overwhelming. It is overwhelming.
This is Jamal. Jamal is a therapist in Fresno, California, and has been working with us for a little bit now, and really came to me with a clear vision of he needs someone to help him administratively with not only his therapy practice, but coaching, business coaching, and also helping other entrepreneurial thinking therapists kind of transition into a more lucrative business. So tell me a little bit about kind of your business, where you're coming from, and then how you stumbled upon Dream Support.
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, coming up on 14 years being in this industry. This is my fourth year in private practice, doing business as Central Valley Christian Counsel. And in my journey, both as a W-2 employee, starting there, some W-2 situations can be very difficult to work in, especially when you have a higher productivity requirement. And when you're licensed, the expectations get even higher.
Sure.
So I'm one of those who had to come to the realization that operating in that context professionally just wasn't a good fit for me. And so I transitioned into private practice, and I realized quickly that being in private practice, a strong case can be built that when you get credentialed and you're on insurance panels, you end up in the same position where now you have these referrals that come from insurance companies. But because insurance companies want to be profitable and they're covering marketing and advertising and other expenses, it's common to undercut the provider, which now puts the providers in a situation where we're now having to have the same big caseload, in my case, that I had as a W-2 employee. So this is my second year being a fully private pay practice. And that means that I am responsible for all the marketing, all the advertising, in addition to all my clinical responsibilities as a therapist, bookkeeping, accounting, visionary leadership, all the things that entrepreneurs deal with. And it's nice to have vision. It's nice to have opportunities, but it can be overwhelming. It is overwhelming.
So you came from a situation where you're W-2. So part of that work is done for you. However, it is not as lucrative. And so then you went out on your own, developed your own private practice, and decided you wouldn't be going through insurance for your referrals. And now you actually help other therapists kind of see that and decide that. And how do I make that transition as well? Is that right?
I do. I've become really passionate about it. The private pay model is, as you said, more lucrative. It gives more freedom and autonomy. And I'll recommend it to other mental health providers.
Yeah, very good. If someone was to stumble across this and they were like, man, that sounds really good, I'm kind of stuck in that position, I want to get out, how would they contact you?
If they want to contact me, I do business as the Purpose-Driven Therapist, and they can go to thepurposedriventherapist.com. They can also email me at purposedriventherapist@gmail.com, or they can call me at 559-242-9319.
How did you stumble upon Dream Support and why?
Overwhelmed. It's not unusual for entrepreneurs like myself to feel the burden and the responsibility and just overwhelmed with trying to do daily operations, trying to run the business, trying to work on the business. There's so much that goes into being an entrepreneur. Some of it you don't really know until you actually get into it. This year, I reached a point where I was so not overwhelmed again, and I had the resources, and I was trying to figure out how to resolve this tension. Where do I go? Who do I trust? And I really wanted, if possible, to find someone in my local community. So I did a Facebook post and put a filler out there in a post asking about if anybody might know of where I could find a good VA company. And that's when Dream Support was highly recommended to me by multiple people. And so I reached out to Micah, and I'm glad I did.
It's always nice to be highly recommended. It's even better to sort of rise to those recommendations. So how would you describe working with Tammy's the assistant that you work with? How would you describe working with Tammy?
I love Tammy. I love how Dream Support interviewed me, talked to me about my needs, my pain points, my stress, my hopes, dreams, aspirations. And I really appreciate that Dream Support did all the vetting. So by the time Tammy and I met, I had so much trust and belief in the process that she had been through. I wanted to be responsible and meet her and engage her, but I also knew that she came to me highly trained, highly qualified. It was just more a matter of our impression that we had of each other, and if we both wanted to take a small risk to say, yes, let's work together. And I'm so glad that it was mutual, because when I met her, I knew pretty quickly that I wanted to continue to work with her, but I also knew that she had a choice to make herself. And when I got word that she agreed to work with me, that was an answer to prayer. And my experience working with her has been phenomenal. We collaborate well, we communicate well, we're understanding of one another, we have mutual respect. She's a grounding force for me. I feel less stressed because I know that I have a teammate that can help me be more focused and more intentional about how I approach each day. The partnership with Dream Support and making that investment as an entrepreneur, because as therapists in our industry, or for other entrepreneurs as well, there's this saying, if you want something done right, do it yourself. And it's really hard for us as entrepreneurs to overcome that do-it-yourself mentality. One of the best investments that we can make is to invest in having an executive assistant. So I knew that when I met Micah, and I know that working with Tammy, and I'm excited to increase her hours in the near future. And I hope to continue to increase her hours to the level at which she wants them to be.
What would you say to someone who's sort of on the cusp? They're on the border. They're unsure.
You can't afford to not make the investment in having an executive assistant. As an entrepreneur, whether you're a solo practice owner or a group practice owner, the value that you bring to your company and to your clients is significant. Depending on your rates and what you charge for your services, the best use of your time, the highest use of your time is providing those services, ensuring that your clients enjoy your services and that you're providing the best possible customer service to them. And there's so many other responsibilities that you're accountable for, that you're responsible for, that you don't have to do. That by investing in an executive assistant, that investment actually is going to increase your productivity, your revenue, and profitability. It's really up to you in how you leverage it as a leader.
Yeah. And I think what's important for a lot of people to understand is the scalability that is there. So you don't have to start, the traditional model is, maybe you have an office that you have an admin there as a receptionist and that sort of thing. And they sort of take over they also get pulled into a lot of conversations. But the model of doing remote executive assistants is that they don't get pulled into sideways conversations. There's not time wasted on those things. And you can start for as small as 5 hours a week. And then, you see the value and you can scale up, which is the decision that you've recently made. So I think that's important for people to understand as well, that it's not an all or nothing thing in today's world.
That was a major factor in my decision because my resources aren't exactly where I want them to be. I want to be responsible. I want to be a good steward. So the 5-hour package was a great introduction. It was a great testing period. So I love that there's different levels of investment that can be made.
And also the people doing this work, they're looking for some flexibility in their life as well. And, like in our case, in our home, where we enjoy the fact that we can do drop-offs and pickups from school. And I can decide that I want to, as an entrepreneur and business owner that works from home, I can decide that I want to go with my son on his field trip. Those are some life decisions people make, the quality of life, the kind of life they want to lead. So a lot of people who work remotely want some of those freedoms to be able to invest in their family. So having the flexibility of those packages helps to facilitate that as well. In terms of your other parts of your business, speaking and business coaching for other therapists, so how do you envision utilizing your assistant in those areas as well?
Tammy is helping me be more organized. The more organized we are, the more organized I feel, the more confident I can be in how I'm managing my time on a day-to-day basis. So being organized is really important. I now have a more intentional focus on not just marketing and advertising, but the sales aspect, where because I have Tammy as a support, I can now take more ownership of prioritizing my consultations and discovery calls and developing my skill set as a salesperson in a healthy, respectful, professional way, not in I know that there's some negative connotations that's tied to that term, but it is important when it comes to business and entrepreneurship to at least be aware that that's an aspect of the business. And so with Tammy's support, my mind has shifted to, okay, now that I have this support and I want to have more of it, it's actually a source of inspiration.
I was talking to someone earlier today, and for a lot of professionals, whether they're therapists or otherwise, a lot of the work is relational. So there's a lot of conversations happening. And, but then organized, administratively minded people might say, so when do you do the work? Because for them, they realize that every conversation comes with it a set of follow-up, note-taking, input, invoicing, whatever it may be. There's a set of things that need to happen as a result of that conversation or a precursor for that conversation. And so what having an executive assistant enables some people to do is spend more time in the relational part of the work and less time in the administrative part of the work. Anything else you'd like to add to this conversation?
What you described, Tammy, is phenomenal.
Well, we're glad to be a part of the story, Jamal. I know there's big things in the future for you. I see it. If someone stumbles upon this page or this video and is thinking, man, I need a Tammy, just reach out to me. Contact us here on this page. And if you're a therapist and you're looking at, man, how do I transition into private practice and not rely on these insurance companies? Jamal might be your guy. So why don't you contact him as well?